Hey everybody, this is Chad Jordan from Sport Clips. We have a very intense episode of the Hall of Fame podcast that you're getting ready to hear. And I'm now recording this little portion after the fact. This particular interview touches a lot of dark subjects. There's a lot of inspiration as well. I think you're going to find that. In fact, I was going to trim this episode and shorten it up, but I figured our guest does such an amazing job walking us through her journey that I needed to keep it all in there from start to finish. But the topic of domestic violence is a theme that is going to run through a lot of this podcast. So before we even get to our guest today, I wanted to make sure that we put out some information. If you are in a situation where domestic violence is a reality, I want you to have some options. Right now, you can call 1-800-799-7233, or you can visit the website probeauty.org/cut-it-out. And I'm going to, at the end of this podcast, I'm going to break in again and talk about the Cut It Out program a little bit more, but I wanted you right now to have that option if you are in a situation with domestic violence. You know, over the course of the last few years, I've recorded hundreds of podcasts to this point. This may be the most important and inspirational one to date. Here we go. Hey everybody, this is Chad Jordan from Sport Clips. This is another edition of our Hall of Fame podcast. Hello if you're watching us on YouTube. You could probably tell my voice that I've had a ton of Mountain Dew today, and it's been one of the highlight days for me here at Sport Clips. I am in the lovely Portland, Oregon area, and I've been visiting stores all day. So I'm hyped up, not just because of the energy that I get from these store visits, but all the Mountain Dew that has been presented throughout the course of the day, and even Mountain Dew brownies that we had today, plenty of Krispy Kreme donuts. So if you feel like sugar rush flowing through the microphone today, that is legitimate. Hopefully there's not a sugar crash by the end of this, so we'll see. But the whole reason, I don't even know if you know this, the whole reason I came to Portland was for you. So I had to get here to see this young lady. Those that were at Huddle in 2019 are going to, when you see her, recognize her. I don't know if we gave you the microphone. I don't think I trusted you enough back then to give you a microphone, but we definitely brought you on stage. And we want to hear your story. And you guys are in for a treat because of all that she brings to the table. So without further ado, why don't I have you say your first and very important last name, and the store you manage, how long you've been with Sport Clips. Kind of give me some of that stuff. So you are who?
I am Veronica Jordan.
Jordan, no relation.
No relation.
Well, actually, we don't know that. You know, I'm sure if we
That's true.
did a family tree thing, we may be related. Who knows? Okay.
Yeah, the way technology it is, you never know. I work at OR 101. It was the first store in Oregon.
And it's Oregon City.
In Oregon
right?
City, Oregon.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful location.
End of the Oregon Trail.
It is unbelievable the amount of sunlight that
Yeah.
you guys, and this is like a cloudy area usually, but the sunlight that was coming in your store, everywhere I turn, there's a window bringing sun in. It's
Our
a
store is
beautiful
literally like
location.
a big fishbowl.
It's amazing. And how long have you been there? How long have you been with Sport Clips?
I've been with Sport Clips for almost 5 years.
Okay, and you're managing that location.
I am.
And how long have you been doing that?
I've been manager since last January.
Okay. And also you're with the Ambassador Program.
I am.
Yes?
Yep.
When did you start that, and how is that going? Kind of give me a feel for the Ambassador Program here.
Let's see. Started doing Ambassador probably about 6 months ago, 6 months ago. It's going really good. I've had the gracious opportunity to go into a couple of schools with my coaches, Mallory and Emily, and just kind of spread the Sport Clips word, get people on board, give them some education, what we're all about. I got to teach a beard class, which was really nerve-wracking, but everyone says I didn't look like it was nerve-wracking, so I guess
pulled
I
it
did
off.
okay. Yeah. I had
You channeled your inner Brittany Fitzgerald.
I did.
Your hero.
I did.
Yeah. And one of the things I love, as I was visiting the stores today, you know, the Ambassador Program, not that we're going to dive too much into that right now, but it's doing wonders.
Yeah.
And one of the managers that I met today 117, OR 117, McMinnon or someone?
McMinnville.
Okay, thank you. Her name is, what was her name? Ashley, thank you. Little voice from off camera. Ashley, she came out of beauty school right into Sport Clips, and she came because an ambassador, Courtney, had come in and kind of given a presentation, and it stuck with her.
Yeah.
And now she's managing, like 6 months after joining Sport Clips. So, on behalf of those of us at Sport Clips, especially headquarters, I want to thank you. You're not the only ambassador, but you are one, and you're an important one. And so I hope you hear it enough from your team leader and from your team members and everybody else, your coaches. But thank you guys so much. You're making a difference. I love it. I love the ambassador program, Mary Burlingame, and everything that's going on. So thank you for that. Now why did I come? And you're gonna have to explain. We'll tell the story together. But why, out of all the places in the country, why did I have to come to OR 101? What was drawing me there? What is it about you that is just so special?
Oh boy.
I know it's gonna be tough to pick just one, but.
Well, I made you a jacket.
Yes,
That's probably the biggest one.
YouTube. I hope you're watching this on YouTube. You can see the jacket that was just a bomber jacket. And if you're listening on the podcast, don't worry. We'll post a picture with me in the jacket for the podcast. But by the way, it's so warm. And I'm going to Denver tomorrow where it's snowing. This thing, I'm sweating, but I'm not taking. I said I would sleep in this. I'm not taking this off. Because it is so doggone comfortable and lovely. You have this amazing talent to be able to. I call you the fashion designer of Sport Clips, where we discovered you at. Was that your first huddle?
That was my first huddle.
So you at huddle, and we did. We have for those that don't. Maybe you're a team member, a stylist, and you're not a manager who's been to huddle yet. But huddles are our Sport Clips convention. And at the end, the last night, we have an awards banquet, and you dress up to the nines. Guys wear tuxedos, and gals the fanciest dresses, and the shoes, and the purses, and the jewelry. Everything is perfect. And I don't think I've been going. This is probably my 8th or 9th huddle. Mm-hmm. I've never seen someone walk in looking as Sport Clipsy. I'll put it that way. Sport Clips beautiful as you did, and we actually, for the first time this year, we had a red carpet event where we hosted. You could get pictures with Gordon, and so everybody was coming and getting pictures with him. And you showed up. Tell me about the dress. I almost feel like, you ever see the Hunger Games? And then they're interviewing the tributes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Tell me about your dress. That's what I feel like right now. Not that we're going to throw you to the wolves or have you battle it out to the death after this, but tell me a little bit about that Sport Clips dress, where it came from, what the inspiration was, and I probably will reference this on the podcast page at all. Mm-hmm. I'll show a picture of it, but tell me a little bit about that.
So, I guess the first thing that comes to mind for me is Deborah Sawyer. If you're listening, I drank the Sport Clips Kool-Aid a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. She better be. Hey, Deborah Sawyer, you better be listening. I'm going to give you a ring after this podcast. Make sure.
But I really fell in love with this company. I collect a lot of old Sport Clips memorabilia. Mm-hmm. I find a lot of neat ways to reinvent some of the things. Some of the pins we've gotten, I've made into earrings.
You have Sport Clips shoelaces right now.
I do have Sport Clips
shoelaces.
So
yes, you're telling the truth.
So when we talked about, when I talked about my my team leaders, when we talked about this red carpet event, and I said, what do people wear? And they said, well, it's kind of like it's a really formal thing, And I said, like a prom dress? They said, yeah. And I looked everywhere for a dress, and I'm kind of a weird size, and I thought, you know what, I'll just make one. And I was.
Is that how we describe people like me and you? A weird size? Are we weird size people?
Just a weird size.
All right. I didn't know.
Really short little torso.
Okay. All right.
So I started just kind of looking around. Couldn't find anything. My mom, so she made my wedding dress. I had made a couple of my daughter's formal dresses. Mm-hmm. And I just kind of went, you know what, I'm just going to make one. And I had already kind of been doing a couple other things. Have been like, I've made like some hair scrunchies, and I had done a couple other things with some things that I bought in like off of the mini store, and like the Sport Clips supply websites. And so I decided I was just going to make a Sport Clips dress. It was my first huddle. I wanted to make an impression, go big or go home. And so I got the infinity scarves that were on the mini store, and I bought them. I bought 3 of them, and I took them all apart. And then I'm a big, let's make something out of nothing. So I went down and I just found the right color red dress at the thrift store, and I took it all apart into pieces. And then I assembled it with the pieces that I wanted with the Sport Clips and the red dress, and bought some gloves and some jewelry on eBay, and boom.
I know when people see, it was breathtaking. So I know when people see this picture, and they're going to be blown away. And the thing that made the night, I remember meeting you. I was kind of helping people get them through the line to see Gordon, and I tried to jump in as many pictures as I could and kind of, photobomb. So I remember meeting you in line and talking about, oh my gosh, that dress is incredible. And not thinking anything of it after that, but thinking, all right, that's probably the last time I'll see her tonight. Well, what we were doing to get people through the line, so now I got to tell my side of the story and won't finish. To get people through the line is I was Gordon had said, hey, let me do a Gordon impression. Hey Chad, we gotta hurry this line up and get people through because we're going on dinner soon. And so if you could take their purses and just hold them while they come through the line and give them the purses back, that will really help us out. All right, so now I got my mission from Gordon. While you guys come, I'm taking your purses, your phones, I'm holding on, and then when you leave, I'm supposed to give them back to you. All right. Well, around this time, I'm gonna blank on her name too, but Jordan. That's right.
Jordan was right in front of me.
Craziest coincidence. Jordan from, I believe she's in Iowa.
I think so.
Yeah. Another manager, a beautiful manager. She comes in for this very fancy picture with Gordon. I take her phone and purse. Right around the same time I take your phone and purse. And then I go give you yours. I'm so blown away by your dress. I hand you your stuff. Now it's Jordan's turn to get her picture. Well, you go off and you're taking pictures with your team leader and your friends and all that kind of stuff. Jordan comes and then goes and waits at the end of the line while her friends get their pictures, and then I give her friends their stuff back, and she's waiting for hers, and kind of waits and waits, thinking that I was too busy.
Right.
Finally, about 5 or 10 minutes later, she comes to me and she says, "Hey, could I have my phone back?" And at this point, how many phones I probably passed through at that point, and I'm like, well, where is it? And I go to look for it, I can't find any. Now we can't find you. We can't even remember who was in front of her.
Yep.
So we start. About half an hour goes by. She doesn't how important somebody's phone is.
Oh yeah, man, it's your lifeline nowadays.
She starts naturally and rightfully. Jordan, if you're listening to this, you had every right to panic because I had fully lost your phone. I blew it. But we go through the art, we had a professional photographer. We have Neil Geiger is our Sport Clips photographer, and he had been taking pictures of Gordon. So we asked him, hey, can you go back through your timeline, and we need to scroll and try and target whoever was around her. Right. And we could not find who it was. So I then start going through. Now everybody's inside eating. Right. They start having dinner, and I'm going from table to table. Hey, have you seen? Can you check your purse? Do you have a phone that's not yours? Can you check your table? We start for the next hour of the awards banquet as people are eating. We're looking for this phone. Well, I didn't have a very big part. Not that I'm bitter. Very big part of the awards banquet ceremony that last year. I think the year before everybody got sick of me, so they're like, let's cut this guy out. But there was one thing that I had to do at the awards banquet with Whitney Reed, who usually, if she does a karaoke video with me or something like that, she's usually my partner in crime. So we had to go present, and when I get backstage, she's like, "What's wrong with you?" And she sees it on my face. I'm like, "I've blown it. I've lost this gal's phone, Jordan." I never met her before tonight, but I'm sure she hates my guts right now, and I think she's probably crying her eyes out because I have blown it. I cannot find her phone. And Wendy's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'm sure it'll turn up. Why don't you make an announcement?" I'm like, "Make an announcement? There's 4,000 people here. What am I going to say? Guys, I blew it. I've lost somebody's phone." And she's like, I just think you should do it." So we go out there to read off to start doing this awards banquet thing. And I'm like, before we get started, I made a big mistake tonight, and can you do me a favor and what I say, check your purse and see if there's a phone in there that isn't your, because I think she had turned the ringer off because it was going to be, so we had tried calling the phone, we tried everything, like the Find My iPhone, like all that stuff. Can you check your purse to see, was it in your purse? Is that where it was? So what happened?
When you had handed, so I didn't take my phone up to get pictures taken with Gordon, because that was the line of everybody had done the karaoke.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I didn't take my phone, I just took my purse. So you had tucked Jordan's phone, you'd put it down, and then you'd put my wallet, my purse, on top of it, and it was about the same size. And so when you handed it back to me, I was so used to carrying my phone, I really thought it was mine. So I came back to my table, I sat down, and it was just sitting right underneath. And when you said that, I just started like looking around going, oh, well, maybe it got left here. And then somebody goes, whose phone is that? Wow. And I was like, that's not my phone. And I was like, and then you said whose name it was, and I had met her when I was standing in line.
Because you're like, hey, your first name's Jordan, my
last name's Jordan. Right, that's what. So I'd already kind of met her, and so when you said something, and then it clicked, and I went, oh, she was like right behind me or in front of me. So then, when I tried to go over there, and they were like, no, and then they were like, yeah, wait, come back.
It was such, it was. I haven't had many highlights at Sport Clips because usually I'm part of the low light stuff. That was one of the highest moments of my life at Sport Clips because we found this phone, this connection with Jordan, her first name, your last name, you wearing the Sport Clips dress, us having it. And so, yes, we brought you guys on stage. Plus, I wanted to show off now this opportunity for 4,000 people to see this wonderful Sport Clips dress. So we have an image, a picture that was taken that night. That is, I've used it as my profile picture. Like it's one of a lot of videos that I produce. I'll put that picture in there. You are center point of that. And so because of that, I was like, okay, I owe you a visit. Jordan, if you're listening to this, I know I owe you a visit too, okay? And just keep your phone away from me when I come to your store. But the things that you're doing, I know you had a lot of people contact you about, can you please make us a dress, or how do we, like, you simply don't have enough time for all of that, right? I mean, I know, but I so appreciate what you've done with this bomber jacket that I've got. It's probably my favorite Sport Clips possession of all time.
And I only get to really take probably half, maybe a little bit more than half the credit, because again, I'm a salvager, right?
Yeah,
so I got it at Goodwill as a bomber jacket. I took it all apart. I ordered the fabric from a local company here in Oregon City, and then I took it all apart. I cut the pieces to fit, and I sewed it back together.
Okay, so all of that gave me a headache just thinking that. So you need to take all the credit. This is phenomenal. So all that to say is, she's not taking requests right now. She is managing. She's an ambassador. She has 3 kids. So let's do this. Because your story's so cool, and because I just took the first 15 minutes of the podcast to describe how we know each other and why we have such a fun connection. Let's unpack your story a little bit. You're a stylist, you're a manager, all that kind of stuff. How far back is your story? How far back should we go? You're a little girl and all that, or you're an adult and what?
Oh, I don't know. We can start with adult, I guess.
Okay, sure. So let's go through your what are some challenges that you've overcome in the last 15, 20 years?
Well, I am a recovered drug addict.
Okay. That's a big one that you've overcome.
That's a big one. That's a big one.
I think that's worthwhile.
And I would say I work on it every day. It's definitely a one day.
Have you gone through a program, or is there a church? Like what is it that helped you get sober and is keeping you there?
Sure. Well, let's see. Let's just back up. Let's go back about 2010, maybe. Okay. So
2010, you're a mom.
2010, I'm a mom.
Of 2 of your 3 kids?
2 of my 3 kids. I worked and lived in Lincoln City, which is here on the Oregon coast.
Okay.
And I had a boyfriend at the time. He was a long-standing boyfriend, who had really struggled with addiction.
Had it ever been anything you dabbled with, or?
No.
Okay.
You know, we'd been together for probably 5 or 6 years of me kind of, him falling and me being understanding, and just really getting stuck in that circle of codependency. And just me telling myself it was okay because I loved him.
Okay, that he was going through this? Okay.
Yeah. And probably, you know, I moved out to the coast to kind of get away from him. He got clean. He came back in my life. You know, and then he fell off again. And I think I finally just got fed up with it, and I said, you know, I guess if you can't beat him, then you join him. And it was probably, I won't say probably, it was one of the worst mistakes of my life.
So, was it a bullet train, like one of these things that just took off, or was it a slow burn?
Ooh, I would say it was a bullet train that turned into a slow burn.
Okay.
So,
because you had custody of your kids at the time?
I had.
Okay.
And
you know, what were you doing profession-wise?
Profession-wise,
Yeah.
I own my own salon.
All right. So you were already a stylist
I had
trade.
a house. I had my 2 kids.
So you're doing women full service.
Yeah.
You're doing women's.
Yeah,
Okay.
full service, cars, everything. You know, just everything you hope and wish for. You know, when you're a little kid, like, you know, I want to, you know, do all this stuff and be all this stuff, and you know, I dabbled, and then I stopped, and then I got pregnant, and I continued to stay clean through my pregnancy.
Okay.
He stayed clean through my pregnancy, which was like amazing.
Is it because you're like, for the baby,
Yeah.
both of you,
Yeah.
saying this was the wake up call that you needed, and never again.
Right.
All right.
So we had my son. A couple months later, we got married. We had a beautiful wedding on the beach.
Who made the dress?
I bought it at Goodwill.
Oh, okay. All right.
But we did make all the decorations.
Okay.
And you know, probably about 3 or 4 months after my son was born, my ex-husband, we're divorced now. He was a really big health nut too. It's a really really weird oxymoron.
Yeah.
He was like MMA fighter and just really had a really crippling addiction. Yeah. And it got to the point where he started having an affair. He told me at the time that it was because I had gotten too fat and I wasn't taking care of myself. Which for me, you know, that part of me, there was that part of me in my my brain that kind of went, you just had a baby.
Right.
Does it really matter?
Yeah.
You know, and then there was that other part of me, that little girl who's just self-doubt, you know, thinking there's really just something wrong with me, being afraid to lose everything that I have, you know. And so at that point in time, when my son was about, you know, 3 or 4 months old, I started using again. You know, and we probably was just smoking meth.
Okay.
For probably 6 to 9 months, and I was probably really able to hold on to things.
Is your husband still, now ex-husband, still in the picture at this point, or he's long gone?
He's still in his addiction.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Well, I mean, when you re-enter.
Oh,
yeah.
No, he's there with me.
Okay.
No, he's
so
there
you've
with
taken
me.
him back essentially, even though he's slipped up.
Yeah. We basically just decided that, you know, it was what, you know, I was going to forgive him. This is, you know, in my mind, I think back then it was one of those things where I was like, this is what I'm going to do to be on another level with him so that he doesn't leave me. And so, you know, we, of course, and I don't know if you know much about drug addiction, and I know a lot of people.
Not as much as.
No, a lot of people do,
yeah.
but some people
Someone
that
who's been
do.
there.
For anybody that's listening, you know that when you involve any hardcore drugs and lack of sleep, emotions get very mixed, and so abuse became a regular part of my life.
Had it ever been something in your history either growing up or?
My first husband was verbally abusive. You know, but I was never anything to that scale.
Never where you felt threatened or for fear, kind of for your
Right.
physical safety. Okay.
Right. And my parents were never like that. My parents are great.
So when the physical stuff happens, are you so out of it that you're like, this can be the new normal? I can live with this. I can accept this.
Yeah,
This
that's a lot of what it was, and I didn't want to. You know, when we talked about getting back together before he moved down, when I moved to the coast, you know, I said one thing to him, and that was, please don't ruin my paradise, because it was my opportunity to start over. I mean, at that point, I worked at McDonald's for 15 years. I was an area manager for McDonald's. I went to school, got my, you know, beauty school, and got this great career and everything else. And I was like, just don't ruin my paradise. And I think I got really in a deep depression going, well, my paradise is ruined now, so what's it matter?
Right.
Things started to show. You know, one of the really common things with methamphetamine use is weight loss and then really erratic behavior. And so I started to get really skinny, and I started to really flake out on a lot of things.
How does that work in terms of there are some high functioning individuals that somehow I don't know. That's what. How does that work? Like when you have this addiction and you still have responsibilities in your life, you obviously got to choose one over the other. But how can you pull it off for a little while and then it eventually catches up with you? How can you walk me through what is that tightrope walk like?
Like, one is too many and 1,000 is never enough.
Okay.
Right, is really what comes to mind. You know, in the beginning, it feels more like a means to an end. Like you go to work and you make money so you can buy the drugs. And for a long time, that's really what it was. Like I went to work and I made money so that I could buy the drugs. Go to work, make money, buy the drugs. You know, and it was like never-ending cycle.
Do you feel while you're working like my quality isn't as good as it used to be, or no, I'm pulling this off. I can do it.
No, you feel like you're pulling it off. You feel like nobody knows, and you're just, you know, you're just fine, and
you're delusional.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah, you really put yourself in this little bubble of psychosis where you think nobody notices and everything's fine.
Did you find out after the fact that people were like, we noticed, and we okay.
Oh yeah, and being in recovery too. You know, I've had lots of sponsees now, and watching some of their behaviors, and it's like, listen, let's have a conversation, because I've so been there.
Yeah.
You know, like you're not being honest. And I remember having a conversation with my mom when I was probably about 1.5 years into my addiction, you know, and just really truly believing that I convinced my mom that everything was fine and I wasn't on any drugs. So it came to a head with my husband when my son was just a little under 1 year old. We got in a pretty bad fight, and he blacked out. He blacked out after the third punch, but he beat me for over 1.5 hours.
Oh my gosh. So blacked out because he doesn't remember.
He doesn't remember.
But he physically was obviously still around, and he didn't pass out.
No, he didn't pass out.
Right,
he just blacked out.
Yeah, understood.
He had gotten really escalated to the point where he was shooting dope.
Yeah.
And he was taking steroids, and so he was
oh my gosh.
really nutso.
Yeah. And are you now at this point? Are you high enough to the point where you're not even cognizant this is really happening and feeling it, or is that what's going on?
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, I remember it all. I remember, you know, when he kind of came to, there was blood everywhere.
Yeah.
He knew what he had done, but he didn't really accept what he'd done. I remember him handing our youngest son, Jaden, who was, you know, just under 1 year at the time, because he was present for the whole thing. And I remember him coming over and handing him to me and telling me that I needed to leave, that it wasn't safe for me. And I remember just putting him in the car, and we drove over to my friend's house, or his sister's house, because she had my kids, and I will never forget the look on, it was actually my sister-in-law, on her face, and she was like, she looked at me, she had to double take because I was unrecognizable, you know, and that was really kind of the first time I went, okay, like, enough is enough.
Where were your older kids at the time?
My daughter was there, or she was at my sister-in-law's house, and my son at that point in time, I think he was visiting his dad.
So Jaden was the only one that was in the house
right.
when the attack was happening.
Right. So 2 weeks later, here's my wonderful codependency. We got back together, even after all that.
So help me out. Help
Sure.
me understand. I just interviewed somebody else who had been in an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
And what's the thought process? What is the inner dialogue that's happening that says, I can forgive him this time, it's never gonna happen? Like what's going on?
He loves me, he doesn't mean it.
It's the drugs.
It's the drugs.
It's not him.
It'll be, you know, he says he's not gonna do it this time, he's gonna get help. If I'm just nicer, you know, don't follow the dragon into the cave if you don't want to get burned.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all those things that we, you know, whether we're man or woman, because I've known men who've been in abusive situations too, right?
Sure.
We all have these things that we tell ourselves to justify it or make it okay. You know, what I've learned from my own self is that it's not, and it really has something more to do with me, not somebody else. Right.
Well, even that phrase you just used, which I'd never heard before, don't follow the dragon in the cave if you don't want to get burned.
Yeah.
And is that self-perpetuating? It's my fault. I've set myself up
right.
to, and now if I do better,
right.
to not create those circumstances,
right.
then the abuse won't happen.
Right. So it'll be fine if we're both using, and he might get mad at me, but you know what? If I don't say something about something.
Yeah.
Then I won't get beat. But the reality is that it has nothing to do with me. If he's going to go off, you know, or I'm going to go off or whatever. I mean, it was not uncommon for us to stay up for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, and you know, that'll make you pretty bonkers. So anyway, so we got back together, and I think it was like a week later, and I just told him to get out. He left. He went to Portland.
Hey, did he have what kind of record did he have at the time? Where?
Yeah, he had already been to prison once.
Yeah, so I mean, you report him and he gets tried. He's probably looking at more time, right?
Yep.
So, what prevents you from going to the police all these times? Because you're so trapped in the addiction yourself. You're like, if I do it, then I'm in trouble.
Yep, I'm still using. So if I go and report him, then I'm going to get in trouble.
Okay.
And so I decided that I would not. I decided instead that I would try to just escape my own pain more because, you know, despite all of it, regardless, like I was still so madly in love with him. You know, that it hurt.
Yeah.
And so I made the choice to step up my drug use game and started using intravenously.
Which to that point, you had never...
I had never done it that way before.
And the whole decision to step up, at your words, was that so that you'd be on a level with him and maybe be accepted?
I just wanted the pain to go away.
And it'd be quicker and easier.
At the time, the amount of circle and the friends that I had been keeping, they all did it that way. And it was pretty well said, like, it's the only way to get completely numb. I don't like to say it a lot, but it's right.
Yeah.
You go numb.
Yeah.
You do not care. You do not feel. You know, the only thing you care about is your next high. And everything that I had high functioning or maintaining till then, I lost it literally in 3 months once I started doing it that way.
Because you literally couldn't keep it together at that point.
Right, I couldn't keep it together. And I mean, and it got, I lost my son. my middle child.
Okay.
His dad took him.
And
Rightfully so.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you blame him?
Rightfully so.
Right.
No, I don't blame him at all. I knew that things were going south really bad.
Had you ever been arrested yet?
Nope.
Yourself?
Nope.
Okay.
I knew things were going bad and really south, and I really, really wanted to move and get out of there and move back home. So I sent my daughter to go live with her grandma on her dad's side. Told her I'd be up there in like 2 weeks, that I was packing my stuff. And I never left. My
And
youngest.
how old was your daughter at that time? Maybe
10.
10 or 11? Yeah, okay. So old enough to know.
Old enough to know.
To kind of figure out mom's not got it
Something's
together.
not
Yeah.
right, yeah. And I think up until this point, it wasn't necessarily, I'm sure my daughter, talking to her now about it later, she had an inkling that something wasn't wrong, or that something was wrong, but me and oddly enough, my ex-husband's name is Jordan. I know.
What?
I know. Me and Jordan, we'd been together for, I think, going on 7 years at that point. And our relationship had never been something of harmonious peace. It had always been some type of drama, mainly because he was going in and out of addiction. So
Yeah.
he was going in and out of relationships and in and out of, so my kids were very used to it being a very dramatic interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was just one more thing. And so I don't think that they completely comprehended at that point, although all the adults did. My son, my youngest, Jaden, he stayed with me.
And I assume your mom at this point is looking over your shoulder every.
My mom lived in Oregon City, and I lived in Lincoln City, 2 hours away.
Okay.
So
she can't be as present.
And I pretty much, as you do when you start you start building these barriers and Xing people out of really being, I stopped being on Facebook. I have a couple pictures of me from my addiction when I was on Facebook, but I really stopped talking to a lot of my family, and that's that shame, because you just, half of it is you don't want people to tell you no, you don't want people to tell you stop. The reality is for most addicts is that you don't stop until you're ready to, and that's just
so
what it is.
because you had mentioned that it literally took 3 months for everything to unravel.
Yep.
So I assume at this point the salon is
Gone.
Yep. Okay.
I just decided, I kept taking days off and closing it and kept taking days off, and then finally I just never went back, and I lost everything that I had in it.
You had a house. So
Lost it too. It was a nice house, I was renting it, but I had decided that I was going to try and move, so I packed up all my stuff and was hardly ever there. I had let some other friends of mine that were using stay there while I was staying in town, because it was easier to get to drugs. They pretty much started trashing it and using it as a trap house, which is what happened. So I got kicked out of there. I put all my stuff in a U-Haul, and one of my friends was gonna drive it up to Portland. Took off with it for 3 days, and then they got arrested driving it, and so then all my stuff was put in impounded, and then put in a U-Haul storage. And it was like some obscene amount of like $500 a month payments or stuff to keep it, going, and it was like everything. So I had a car, and I had a lot of friends. I had a lot of using friends, quote unquote.
a car with a car seat in it.
A car with a car seat in it. You are right. Yep.
A little boy.
Yep, and a little boy.
Oh my God.
At one point in time, things got really bad there, and I didn't really have any place to go, so I asked one of my cousins up in Portland to watch him for a weekend, and I left him there for 3 months.
Because the time got away from you?
Yep.
Or okay.
Yep. Yeah,
and
literally 3 months
out.
feels like 3 days. No,
They weren't going to be like, I need to take him back.
Nope. They actually, I got wind that they were going to go to Children's Services and ask for some type of custody or adoption or something like that. And so,
not to be cruel, but to keep him safe.
To keep him safe.
Yeah.
And so I, once I got wind of it, I immediately drove up to Portland and took him back to the coast. I finally found like I found a friend who would watch him a lot.
A friend that was clean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she watched him a lot, and
did she know you were struggling?
yeah, she knew I was struggling. She did her best.
Oh yeah, I'm not judging. I'm
Yeah.
saying
She knew I was struggling. She did
probably
her
bailed
best.
you out with as you can still be a mom.
Yeah.
As much as you could in your mind.
So I, in the 3 months that my son was gone, I didn't really have anywhere to go. I still got loaded.
Yeah. How are you paying for this?
Selling my body.
Yeah. And how about, have you been arrested at this point?
No.
So you are in your mind, are you like, I'm getting away with this?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And Lincoln City is a really small town. It's a 7-mile town.
Yeah.
I would literally get up and go for a walk in the morning, and I would see, it's a small town, has same, maybe 10, 20 police officers. They'd be around in the morning. I'd stop and talk to them, being really loaded. And I'm sure they probably went, I wish I could arrest you right now, but I don't have anything to bring you in on.
Right.
And, if you've ever been to, most places have beach access bathrooms. So there's 6 in Lincoln City. So every night I would just pick one and I would lock myself in the bathroom and sleep on the bathroom floor.
At what point do you go, this is not what I want? How do you get out of this?
So when I got Jaden back, I was like, I have to do something different. I can't live in bathrooms with Jaden.
Yeah.
So I had a friend who was, she was able to get by. She was an older lady. She was using, but she wasn't, she was still, she had been a police officer. I know that sounds really weird.
Wow.
She'd been a police officer for 25 years, so she really knew how to work the system, and she had a spare room. So she said, give me all your food stamps for the month. And at that time, I think I had TANF, which is Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. I had like $200. So she said, give me all your TANF and give me all your food stamps, and you can live here. So I lived there with her. I had a new boyfriend who was my dealer. So, in my little loaded mind, like I had it made.
Yeah.
My daughter really missed me. So I went and picked her up, and she came back and lived at this house.
Oh.
Which was just a hot mess because it was me and 3 other IV using drug addicts and my 2 kids. And it was really,
your middle son, are you seeing him at this point at all?
No.
Dad's like over my dead body.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. So I lived there for probably about a year, maybe a little less. And, it was really terrifying every day because I felt like I was always picking up everybody's stuff so that my kids didn't find it.
Yeah. Jaden's learning to walk at this point and crawling and all that stuff.
He's 3.
Okay.
He's 3 by now.
So a toddler in a drug den, essentially.
Pretty much. Pretty much. And my daughter was 11, 12.
Right.
I had a crazy idea when I was watching the news one night. I was watching this special report on squatters.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You know what a squatter is, right?
Course,
They go to somebody else's house. And I watched this news report about these people and all these other scams, and they had talked about all these rent scams, and then that people were like paying to rent places on Craigslist and then coming to their house that they had paid to rent, and then nobody was there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, no. And so I thought, what happens to these people that they paid all this money? They're just a victim. So I cased a house and I made a fake lease, and I moved in and I squatted. And when the cops came knocking at my door, I said, what do you mean? I paid for this all on Craigslist. Didn't work.
Okay.
They said, oh, okay. And then they shut the door. And then you know, because I just had to get out of that house, and I didn't care what it took. And so
Did you have the kids?
I had the kids.
Yeah. Okay. And how long were you in that house?
Oh, a week.
Okay.
We were in there a whole week. You know, and I gave the cops my story, and
Your fake story?
My fake story.
Okay. All right.
They left. They came back about 10 minutes later. You know.
With a search warrant, or what did they have?
No. You know, she, Officer Mills.
Same one that
I talked to her often. Yeah, I
Okay.
talked to her often. Really nice lady. You know, she came in. She said, "Can I come in?" I said, "Yeah." And she sat down and she looked at me and she said, "So I talked to the owners of this house. So do you want to tell me the truth, or do you want to continue to lie?" And if you have ever carried a lie or carried so much pain and regret and had that moment where you just let it out and everything lifted, you know, in my program you call that surrender.
Yeah.
Like, I surrendered.
Yeah.
I said, "I want to tell you the truth."
Mm-hmm.
And I let it all go. I let it all go. I told everything. You know,
Does it help she's a female on that you could?
no.
It wouldn't have mattered whoever.
No, it wouldn't have
officer
mattered.
they
I mean,
sent.
at that point, they had called pretty much the whole police squad, so there was
Yeah.
like 16 cops, you know, going around.
Are your kids in the house when this is all unfolding, or are they?
Jasmine is at her friend's house at a sleepover. Jaden is there.
Okay.
You know, and I will give hats off to Lincoln City Police Department because, you know, they like took Jaden outside and they like played ball with
Yes.
him and kept him occupied until Children's Services could come and take him up to my mom's because I was getting arrested.
For the first time,
For the-
unbelievably,
Yeah.
but for the first time.
So I
And you are you high at this
oh
time?
yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah, I'm very high. I remember driving over in the police car and just not knowing what was going to happen.
Did they cuff you?
They did.
And did Jaden see?
No.
Okay.
They made sure he didn't see.
Okay.
We did stop by we had to go by where my daughter was, and she saw me handcuffed and in the cop car.
Oh, bummer.
You know, so she was pretty upset about that.
Especially because she's old enough to put the pieces together. Jaden,
Yeah.
you know, he would have.
And she was like at a sleepover at the most popular
Right,
girls.
right.
You know, here's my mom in a cop car. Hey, Mom.
Oh my goodness! I'm so sorry. to
Oh,
hear that.
it's okay. You know, so I went to jail.
Yeah.
I was probably in there a good week and a half before you really got to see your lawyer.
Yeah. Well,
It's not anything that happens quickly, especially in Lincoln
but
County.
that must have been a week and a half of hell in terms of what you're coming off.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
do they
it
was.
was.
You method? I mean, what?
No.
You got nothing to help?
In all honesty, methadone's more for heroin. With meth, basically, you just need to eat and sleep it off. I slept for the first 3 days I was in there. Because I'd been up, I think, for I think that was my 23-day run. I had maybe taken a couple 15-minute naps, but I'd been up for 23 days. By the time they arrested me, I was 98 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
I looked like a skeleton.
Yeah.
I was extremely malnourished. I was so dehydrated to the point where I couldn't even inject myself anymore. So I had pin needles and pushes and bruises and everything all over my arms and my legs, and you know, I still carry a good scar.
Yeah, I see it.
You know, but I was definitely ready. And once the meth fog kind of cleared, all I could think about was like, what did I just do to my life? And I remember feeling like I started doing this.
How many years?
Almost 3.5.
Okay.
It had been 3.5 years. 3.5 years of, you know, not taking care of anything, of letting everything I had fall apart, losing all 3 of my kids, my house, my car, my career, my self-respect, my dignity, you know, any feeling of being a human being, and just really caught up on all the things that I was supposed to be and I should have been, based on, you know, where I came from, because I came from a good family. I had a 2-parent household, and I went to church 3 times a week, and I was in a professional choir. I toured in Australia. I was an exchange student in Japan. You know, I did all these great things, you know, and I made some bad choices based on my own codependent behavior and what I thought was love. And so I'm in jail. Some of the other girls are talking about a program called drug court.
Yep.
So I talked to my lawyer, and he says, well, you're looking at felony charges, so you don't qualify for drug court.
Ooh.
And he says, but you qualify for hope court. And I said, well, what's hope court? And he said, it's the same thing as drug court, except with drug court, when you complete it, they erase your charges.
Expunge.
With hope court, you take your charges off the bat, and that's what it is. And you will have them the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it and you complete it, you know, then you'll be on some type of probation or court supervision, and you will just live with the fact that you're going to have a felony on your record the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Or you can go to prison for 10 years. You pick.
And then by that time, your kids are grown up. They're out of the house, at
Right.
least 2 of them.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, the lady came to interview me for it, and I knew that I was really serious, and I wanted to show them that I was serious. So when she came to interview me for it, I brought her interview questions, because I wanted to know what I was getting into. I wanted to make sure that that I could be successful at it, that I was going to have the support that I needed at it, because I'd been ready to quit and stop for a long time. I just didn't know how to do it, and I didn't have the support to do it. At this point, I didn't know about any outside community help. I didn't know about Celebrate Recovery or Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't even understand what treatment was. So,
Because you had never tried to stop before.
I'd never tried to stop.
So you're not
before.
one of these that dabbled and got back and, you
Right.
know, and slipped and fell off the wagon
Right.
and all that. You just went on this 3.5-year tear.
Yep.
And never looked back.
And destroyed my whole life in the
Yeah.
process. So they let me sit in jail for 3 months. Usually when they accept you, it's within 30 days. The DA and my lawyer fought for that 3 months, because my lawyer was like, this woman will be successful in it, this woman needs it. And the DA was more like, okay, we understand that she was on drugs, but like,
Right.
she did a lot of things that are probably not really, you know.
What did your
Congruent.
lawyer see in you that made him think?
I don't know. I mean, it was the lawyer and then the Hope Court administrator. Her name is Megan, and I still talk to her today. I'm still to this day, the only person who has ever brought interview questions to that interview. Most people, you know, and it's not a very big program. Drug court is really big in Lincoln County. Hope Court, not so much. They only have about 30 spots per year.
And how long is the program?
It is a year long.
Okay.
So it's
And
actually 16 months.
It's 16 months,
So it's a
like
year.
out of jail, or
Right.
you okay?
Right. So your 16 months starts. So I got accepted into that. I got sentenced the same day that I got sentenced. I got released. And what Hope Court is court supervised treatment. So I had 35 hours of recovery that I was required to do a week. So I had to go to 4 outside groups. I had to go to I had to go to four meeting or 4 like counseling or group therapy through Reconnections counseling that were 3 to 4 hours long. And then I had to find a sponsor. And I went all in. I went feet first. I said, I'm ready. I'm going to do it. I know in the beginning, like, I didn't have a car. I lived 2 miles away from where it was. And like, I remember the first day that I had to go to the treatment. I remember it was raining and I couldn't find a ride. So I walked 3.5 miles in the rain at the coast. You know,
What month was it, like?
February.
Oh my God.
So it was freezing, and I remember
Yeah.
getting there and I was 20 minutes late.
Yeah.
And I remember being soaking wet and looking at all these people that I didn't know and the guy Larry going, well, you're late. You can't be here if you're late. And I remember everybody going, oh, come on, Larry, just let her go. It's fine. She walked, and I made some really, really good friendships, and I learned really quickly, and I kind of had always known how to do, if you do what's more than expected of you, you get the extra help that you need, and you get things out of it. And so, they required me to go to 3. They required me to go to 4. I went to 5. And then when I moved on to, you did that for the first, it's 1, 2, 3 phases. So I did that for the first phase, which was, I think, 4.5 months. And then when they said, okay, now you just have to go to 2 of these 3-hour classes, I still went to 4, and I embellished myself. I found a church, and rebuilt my relationship with Jesus Christ and God. I was really mad at God, really, really mad at God for a long time. And I was able to rebuild, my whole structure of how I felt.
What was the anger?
God.
Why did you let this happen to me? Yeah.
I think all the normal. I got rebaptized when I turned a year clean. I got baptized in the Pacific Ocean.
Oh. That's cold up here.
It was
not
funny.
Hawaii, Pacific Ocean.
It was cold, but it was actually 2 degrees warmer than any other where on the coast where I got baptized.
All right.
So in the in phase 3 of the program,
and this wasn't a faith-based program you're in, right?
No, this was also supervised by the court.
Okay.
Although I did go to Celebrate Recovery 2 times a week, and I went to Narcotics Anonymous, which is where
because you're not just doing one, you're doing
I'm doing them all.
You're doing more than enough.
When I graduated, my pack was, they can see it, my pack was 5 or 6 inches long because I had to get these slip signed. In the meetings we say a nudge from the judge and a higher power slip, right? And so in phase 3 they said, okay, well, you have to get a job. And I said, I'm not going to get a job here. I'm not going to stay here. Once I graduate this, I'm going to move back home with my parents, and I'm going to try and reboot my life. And I fought with them for a couple of weeks on it, and then finally they went, okay, well.
Because they wanted you to stay local, right?
Yeah, they wanted me. They wanted
keep an
me.
eye on
They
you.
wanted me to be a mentor because I was
Okay.
being so successful at it. And so they said, all right, well, why don't you just do job search? And I said, okay. And they said, do you know anything you want to do? And I said, yeah, I want to go back and cut hair. So the Lincoln County probation officer paid to reinstate my license because I had let it lapse.
Wow.
I know, hats off to them.
Because you didn't have the money at the time.
I did not have the money at the time.
And you had a felony record.
And I had a felony record. And I was really providing on the generosity of a lot of the people in the program. For a good 6 months or 3 months of my recovery, when I was clean, I was homeless. It was summer, but every day somebody from the program came and paid my my campsite.
Okay.
Every day somebody came and paid like clockwork. It's all right. Just stay clean. Just go one more day. And it was just me and Jaden and Jasmine, and we were just because I got.
You were literally camping.
Literally camping.
What do you have? Do you have a tent?
A tent.
Do you have
a tent, and everybody brought me just random camping supplies and said we're just going to make it work. By the phase 3, I had gotten a new place. I had gotten a place to live through somebody I met at church. He gave it to me at half the price what I could afford from my TANF. They had me go to these work programs, and the lady said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to do something different. And she goes, okay. She said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to work at Sport Clips. And she said, what Sport Clips? And I said, I think it's just men's hair.
Did you say Sport Clips, or when you told her, did you say Sports Clips?
I said Sport Clips.
Oh, okay. All
One
right.
sport, 2 clips.
Okay. So how did you hear about it? Like, why did you say I want to go to Sport Clips?
In all honesty, I've racked my brain for almost 4 years and wondered, did I see it in a commercial? Did somebody tell me it'd be a good idea? I honestly don't know. I just, out of my mouth, said, I'm going to work for Sport Clips. That's what I'm going to do. And there was no changing my mind.
Man, I don't know who to give a shout out to. The marketing department, the recruiting department.
Right.
Let's say everybody. Let's say everybody did their job.
But from that point on, there was no telling me any different. I went to the workplace and they said, well, why don't you just apply at other places so that you don't have all your eggs in one basket?
Mhm.
I said, no, I'm going to work for sport clips. So I applied and I talked to Ashley, who's used to be the
Yes.
manager, and I told her, like, I'm moving up there in 2 months.
And where is it? Oregon City?
In
Is that
Oregon
where-
City.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where my parents lived. And she said, okay, well, call me when you come. And so just to be safe, because they pushed me, I set up actually 5 interviews at 5 different sport clips in the
Okay.
Portland area.
All right.
So I graduated the program. Lots of tears because I had to say goodbye,
Oh yeah, and all these
to
relationships.
all these relationships
Yeah.
I had built, and was really, they really wanted me to stay, and I built like just tons of relationships, and so I moved up here. I went to all 5 interviews, and I told each of the managers a little bit of my story. I just made it really clear, like, I need to go to church on Sunday, and I have to be able to go to these meetings. And in Ashley, she understood my struggle, and I felt from her the understanding of how important it was for me when I explained it to her. So that's where I
And
decided
this
to
is
go.
Ashley. I met her today.
You
right?
did, yeah. Ashley Jones.
Yeah.
Shout out to Ashley Jones.
She the one who made the Mountain Dew brownies?
No, that was Wendy.
Wendy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, so I landed it there.
And felony and all, like,
Mhm.
had you? I mean, it's not like you put on big bold letters on that interview or the application.
Mhm.
I have a felony, but that is they can find that out.
They can find
right?
that out.
It's not like you
Yeah.
you can cover that up.
Yeah, no, they can
So
find that out.
do you bring that up to them, or you just leave it and not even mention it?
I mean, my team leaders and my manager are aware.
Mhm. And were when they were hiring you?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm interested to find that out. Like,
Yeah.
obviously now I know
Yeah.
who you are,
Yeah.
how great you are,
Yeah.
all that. But at the time, nobody knew you. I mean, you were in another whole city and been through all this. And
Yeah.
okay.
So, I had, 14 months clean when I started working there.
Mhm.
And I just immediately got involved in a bunch of meetings, and found myself, truly at home, right? Some of the basic principles that I learned in recovery, was to do what's right, even when nobody's looking.
Mhm.
Treat other people the way that they want to be treated.
If you say do your
and
best, then I'm gonna
and do your best, right? Like,
wow, cool.
with some of the things that I got taught really early on in recovery about what it looks like to have integrity, and what it looks like to be committed, and what it looks like, to be passionate about something. When I started working for this company, it was like all the stars came alive, and
Mhm.
somebody said, "Oh."
Right, yeah, like a shaft of light comes
Yeah.
down from heaven.
I mean, it was absolutely amazing, and I just fit right in. I couldn't cut men's hair with a crap.
Mhm.
I'll tell you that. Sorry for the language. But Ashley,
I've heard worse on this podcast.
Ashley is the.
I've said worse myself.
I tell you what, hats off to that woman, because I must have tried her patience sometimes, because I just wanted to go and I just wanted to do it, but like I couldn't do it, and she was so patient and so encouraging.
So I mean, I'm not, obviously, everybody knows I'm not a stylist. They would never trust me with the shears and clippers and everything.
Yeah.
But what's the pivot? What's the challenge from going from doing women's hair your whole life to men's hair? Like, why was that such a hurdle?
Well, 2 reasons. Number one, when you cut a little bit off of women's hair,
Yeah.
they freak out. If it's even just a hair
Yeah.
more. With men, they'll sit in your chair and they'll go, I want a 0 on the sides. And you'll be like, are you sure?
Mhm.
That's all your hair. So you
Right.
get very used to this culture of women and how they really react to their hair, versus a man who's like, it'll grow back,
Yeah.
just take it
Yeah.
off.
Mhm.
And so there's a lot of timidness. And then I had done perms and colors, and Smitty, my husband's here, could you give him a little scissor cut?
Right.
I had never done any fades. I had
Okay.
never used a blending comb. I'm like, what is this thing? And so I did not understand. And so she was very patient with me. I loved coming to class and I learned so much.
Are we filming this in a class where you learn to cut?
We are
men's
filming
hair,
this in a class
essentially?
where I learned how
Okay,
to cut
all right,
men's
that's
hair.
cool.
It is cool.
Full circle.
It is cool, full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I.
How long before you really start to flourish at Sport Clips?
Ooh. Well, let's see. I got promoted to assistant manager.
A year in? What?
It was, just a little over a year.
Okay.
It was in, I think, 2017. Yeah, 2017. And I had started talking to James' dad again.
Mm-hmm. Talking?
Trying to get him to kind of get off whatever he was off to try and be something for his son.
Okay. But you're not looking to reconnect?
No.
Okay.
And then he got in a really bad accident. He got ran over, and a half semi truck stopped on his chest, and he almost died.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. How's it almost died when that
almost
happens?
died. He was in critical care for a little bit, and I lost it, and I relapsed.
Really?
After all that success,
No way.
and almost 3 years, and
How? Like, did you know where to go to find, like?
I had somebody that I had met, sadly at work. She's no longer with us.
Yeah.
And I made that really bad choice.
Yeah.
And it happened a couple more times, and I just hit it. And on the third time when it came out, I looked myself straight in the mirror and I said, I am not going to do this to my life again. I'm not. And I walked my happy butt into my car, down to the treatment center that's here in Oregon City, and I said, listen, this happened. I'm not okay with it. I need to essentially put myself back in Hope Court without the court.
Right.
And the lady looked at me like I was crazy. She's like, you don't need really treatment. Like, you already went through huge treatment.
Yeah, you
had
know what to
long,
do.
You had a long piece of clean time. And I said, no, I need accountability. This is what I need. And I let myself truly embrace everything, because I think for a long time I was on a pink cloud and everybody was like, you're doing so great.
Yes. Yeah.
And you did so great, and you did this, and I had all this accountability.
Accolades and
And so now, on January 1st, I'll have 18 months clean again.
Awesome.
And it's been such a different experience, because I think about everything that's happened in the last 18 months, right? Like, there was no, if you don't do this, then you're going to do this. It was purely me going, this is what I want for the rest of my life, right? And, we found that lump in my neck, and that was really scary, and I made it through that, and then they decided to promote me, and I was just totally in shock, and I've just been...
When did the promotion happen? When did you become manager?
That happened last January.
Okay.
So
we're coming up on a year of that.
Right.
Right?
Right.
I hope there's some fun celebration planned. I might have to figure something out. January what?
Let's see. Well, I went to Disney World the first week of January, so probably, and then they asked me right before I left, and when I came back, I took over. So I think probably around the 15th.
Okay, I gotta set a calendar reminder for myself.
But I guess for me, like, everything that has just happened this year has just been so amazing, and the support that I've gotten from my team leaders. I've shared my story with my coaches, with other people here, and I think the biggest takeaway that I get is, we all have our stories, and I think for a really long time, I got super hung up thinking I just failed. I failed at what I was supposed to be, who I was supposed to be, and then I think at one point in time, over this last year, I realized that's not how you measure a person. You don't measure a person on how they failed. Everybody fails at who you're supposed to be. Everybody does. It's how you accept who you are that matters, right? And so for me, I just feel so blessed that I get all these opportunities, that I get to be here today. I have custody of all three of my kids.
Wow. I was going to ask about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have custody of all three of my kids. I don't do everything perfectly.
Hey, neither do they.
Nobody ever does anything perfectly.
You got teenagers, I got teenagers, we know.
Yeah.
They're not perfect.
I have a strong relationship with my kids. I have a strong relationship with my my boyfriend, who's got, he just celebrated 6 years.
Wow. Awesome.
And
so there's accountability there.
Yeah, accountability there. And I have an epic sponsor and lots of friends, and I have like the most excellent coworkers. I couldn't ask for more, because they're all still so teachable, and I try to make work fun.
You got to agree.
We do pep rallies every month, and we do contests every week, and we do everything we can to just keep each other going and just stay positive and do what we can. And they're super supportive of my goals, and I try to be supportive of theirs.
And then I got a comment, and then we'll get to our fun questions.
Sure.
Because there's people listening to this who, unfortunately, they may be battling addiction right now. Maybe they're battling maybe they're in an abusive relationship or some other dark period of their life. So what encouraging advice could you pass along to them to help them get to a better place?
Just don't give up. Just don't give up, no matter what. That's like one of my favorite things to say. No matter what, like, just keep going. Know that the help is always there, and just don't be afraid to reach out, even when it's hard, and don't be afraid to just go through that door. There's so many resources, and when I got clean the first time, I was amazed how many people I actually had on my side, because I thought that I didn't have anybody. I had a few relationships that I had to bend, and it took time, but I have solid relationships now.
Well, and if you're part of Sport Clips and you're listening to this, we have the Cut It Out program that helps those that are in abusive relationships, and helps them get out of those and get support. So we want to make sure that you check into that. One of the things that I'll comment on, and then we'll get to our questions, is you showed me your scar.
Yeah.
And I think of this, not to get too spiritual or anything, but I like listening to gospel music and worship music and stuff. And there's a group called Leland that has a new album out. It's a worship album, and in the song they talk about meeting Jesus for the first time, and saying to Jesus, show me your scars. And Jesus says, I'll show you my scars, now show me yours. And getting a chance to show everything that's imperfect about us, but that he's healed. And it looks like you're experiencing healing. And so I'm so proud of you. Man, if you had blown it, we wouldn't be here today.
I know.
So you did it. This is amazing. And I so appreciate getting the opportunity to sit down and really celebrate. Recovery is something, you mentioned that the group celebrate recovery, but it is something worth celebrating.
It is.
The fact that you get to have this relationship with your kids and your team members and your team leaders and those of us at Sport Clips. And I know there are bigger stages for you to be on than even Huddle, and bigger platforms for you that are out there. So I can't wait to see all of that unfold. So here's what I'd like to do. I've got my 10 fun questions at the end.
Okay.
And for the first time ever, you brought questions to Hope Court or whatever. You said before we started recording that you have some questions for me.
Yes.
Okay, so here's what we do. I've got 10. Do you need to ask yours all in a row, or can we?
No.
Okay, so I got 10 questions. I'm gonna ask 2 at a time.
Okay.
And then You can go in and out.
Okay.
Actually, you should probably lead so that my last two. Oh no, I know what I'll do. I'll start off with 2 questions for you. Number 1, which superpower would you most like to have?
Man, every time you ask this to somebody else, I'm like, I don't even know.
Don't ask me that one.
I don't even know. I would like to be super strong.
Okay. Super strength.
Super strength.
Like the Incredible Hulk.
Like Mr. Incredible.
Okay, Mr. Oh yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that's
I'm a
more
Disney
relatable.
person.
I like
Disney
that. Yeah, you are. That's right. I'm looking forward to your karaoke. All right, give me what's one of your nicknames?
Vern.
Vern. Okay. Do you like it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I won't call you that then. Okay. Now it's your turn. What's one of your questions?
Let's see. What is your favorite mode, or what is your least favorite mode of transportation? Because you travel a lot.
Yeah. You know what? I'll say rental cars.
Rental cars.
I hate driving myself,
Okay.
and especially from Seattle
Uh-huh.
to Eugene, Oregon.
Oh my gosh.
In the rain, back up to Portland at night. All right, that is my least favorite mode
glad you
of
enjoyed the
transportation.
BMW.
Yes. Okay, my turn. Other than where you live now, where else in the world would you most like to live?
Disneyland.
Disneyland. Have you been to the new Star Wars land?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't yet.
We went over the summer.
Do you have any pets?
I do.
Okay, what is your favorite pet's name?
I only have one pet.
Okay, well, but it could be favorite pet of all time.
Oh,
the one you've ever had.
Max.
Max. What was
Yeah.
Max?
Max was my Siamese cat.
Okay.
He
all
lived
right.
to be a long time.
Your turn.
Let's see. What is your favorite vacation spot?
Okay. Every summer, and it's because of who I go with. Every summer, my family and we go to Oahu. My wife and my 3 kids, and we stay with one of my college buddies who lives out there. And it's got they live a block from the beach. It's got our favorite beach in the world there.
Right.
And we just go, and my son boogie boards, and my daughters fight, and it's and then we have snow cone shave ice from Island Snow is the name of it, and President Obama went there a bunch, so they have his pictures all over.
There you go.
So anyways, that's my favorite vacation spot. All right, number 5 for you. Okay, you got to answer. It's what is your hidden talent? And this, I'm wearing a talent of yours that is not hidden. We all know about it. So what's a hidden talent of yours?
Boy. I guess it's, I don't know if I really have any hidden talents. I don't know. I'm pretty creative all the way around. I like to draw. I like to paint.
Okay.
Like what? And I can sing.
You can sing?
Yes.
Okay. Oh yeah, because the choir and okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, that's one we've not discovered yet.
Yeah.
So, well, except for the karaoke videos. So, okay, you can ask one now.
Okay. When things break, do you prefer to fix them or replace them? I know.
Replace them. I'm not a fixer. I'm not a handyman at all. No way. I will pay a premium to either replace it or have it fixed, but I will not do it myself.
I will do it myself.
Okay. What sound or noise do you love?
Laughter.
Sound noise do you hate?
Chalkboard.
Chalkboard, like nails on.
Ah.
Okay. This is a whiteboard.
Yeah, I know it's a whiteboard.
I can't get you. Okay, your next question.
Okay. What chore do you dislike doing the most?
Okay. I hate cleaning the garage, and my kids destroy it at least once a year, and then I have to go reorganize it, and it is like the whole time I'm doing it, I love my kids to death, but in that moment,
Yeah.
I'm rethinking my life decisions.
Right.
Why did I have 3 kids? Why did I have them at the time of life I had them? Because right now, if I didn't have them, there would not be this mess in my garage all over again.
How old are your kids?
15, 13, and 11.
Oh, okay. So pretty close to what mine are.
All right, my next question. Obviously, at some point, Hollywood's going to make a movie based on the story of your life. What actress do you want them to pick to play your role?
I've given this one a lot of thought.
Okay.
And I just want you to know it's not going to be Hollywood. It's going to be a Disney movie.
Okay.
Okay. And I think Marissa Tomei should be the voice.
All right.
But I don't know what kind of character it would
So
be.
it's
Some
gotta be,
type of struggle.
yeah, some princess.
Something.
Yeah. Okay. And what's the title of the movie?
Ooh. No matter what.
No matter what.
No
I love
matter
it. Okay, you get your last question, then I'll ask my last
Okay.
question.
Who gives you courage to try something new?
Oh, my wife. Yes. So, obviously, you see, I'm on social media a lot. I travel.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all that. Who's not my wife, but behind the scenes, she's the one who is encouraging me and keeping this whole thing going. And at any moment, she could say, "All right, let's pull the plug. You don't need to be doing that anymore." And I would stop. But
God bless her.
She's a wonderful woman, and yes, who allows me to be me.
Yeah.
So you can imagine having to put up with this guy for the last 19 and a half years.
My boyfriend puts up with me.
So it's pretty amazing. All right, last question, and then we'll end this one. This has been amazing, by the way. So thank you for sharing everything that you've shared today and everything that you survived today. This is part of our Survive and Advance series because you are a survivor and you have advanced. If heaven indeed exists, what do you hope to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Thanks for not coming early. You came on time. Just because how many times I
Yeah,
put myself
right,
near death.
right.
Oh.
Yes. You should be thanking him. Hey, thank you for not making me come early and giving me all those extra chances and all that. But
We're always right where we need to be, and right now where I need to be is just here and available. And like Brittany says, always say yes. And I always like to say, my best ability is my availability.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's anybody out there who's struggling, find me on Facebook, hit me up, talk to me.
And you're on Instagram too.
And on Instagram too. And there's just always, I'm always down for more friends and to help encourage and help people.
Well,
survive.
you've had, amazing story, but I just want to pass along the best is yet to come for you and because of you. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Obviously, thanks to Veronica Jordan. I've already said she's a sister from another mister for me. And this is the story of Sport Clips, people like you. And so thanks for sharing it with us.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody. Tune in next week for another episode. Bam.
Bam.
Great job.
We did it.
Awesome.
Well, following that really brave interview with Veronica Jordan, I wanted to give everybody some information on ways to get help if you're in a domestic abuse or domestic violence situation. Domestic abuse is a truly serious epidemic in our country. The statistics are staggering. According to the National Domestic Violence Hotline, on average, 24 people per minute are victims of rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner in the United States. More than 12 million women and men over the course of a year. Now, awareness is key to helping those around us. Sport Clips offers the Cut It Out training as part of new team member orientation for every single store member across the country. All team members are encouraged to complete that training. As a platinum level sponsor of Cut It Out, Sport Clips also provides printed materials like posters and safety cards on the online huddle that team leaders can give to their team members in their welcome packet or any time that there's a need. This partnership with Cut It Out also provides an avenue where team leaders can contact Cut It Out to get an advocate to their location to conduct live training for their teams as well. The goal is to create awareness so that team members can recognize the signs of domestic abuse, which is now called intimate partner violence or IPV, and refer others to help by calling 1-800-799-7233. That's 1-800-799-SAFE. This is one of the ways Sport Clips team members live their values, by showing others that we care. Please do me a favor and share this video with anybody, just in the chance that it could help in their situation. Thanks.